And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow. Who cares where we gotta be? You know you'll have a good time wherever you're with me. Let's take it slow. Ask me how we got here, 'cause you don't know how. You say we're taking on water, yeah, we're sinking now. You're looking all concerned, like we're gonna drown. But we both know how to swim, no worries, let's flow for now. Let's take it slow, where you go, I go too. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you.
What's going on, guys? JSGC here, back again for another live stream where today we're going to be doing another episode of the transfer show. I think we're up to episode number 4 now, which means obviously we're 4 weeks in. We're at the end of June in what has been a very busy month for Manchester City, not just in terms of the transfer window, but also with the Club World Cup as well, which we will speak about in today's episode. So before I do crack on with this stream, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, then do subscribe to my channel. It is free to subscribe. Also, don't forget as well to go and check out my social media links there in the description. If you want to go and follow me on my X, Instagram and TikTok, email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorship for any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up on the stream. We're aiming it for 200 likes. And also don't forget as well, if you're watching this after the stream, then get your thoughts in the comments below. And if you are tuning in live right now, then do feel free to dip into the chat and we'll say a big hello to everybody. So Ryan, hello, welcome, thank you for tuning in. Marvin as well, thank you for tuning in, hoping to see Manchester City sign a new right back. And I feel like right back's a really good way to start today's episode, to be honest, because there aren't many more positions that Man City are going to be looking at in this summer transfer window, in particular if we're not going to see players leave. Now, we all know that we're going to see the likes of Jack Grealish, Kyle Walker, etc., etc. The homegrown players that have been getting linked with the exit door, the Calvin Phillips. These players are going to leave Manchester City in this summer transfer window, and it's up to Manchester City about whether they want to replace these players or not. We've already heard Pep Guardiola speak several times about Manchester City and him not wanting a big squad, whilst Hugo Viana seems to be looking towards trying to maximise the squad so it can be as big as it wants to be. And if we want to go out there with a bigger squad, then the only way really that we're going to make that happen is through signing homegrown players and also ensuring that we are also selling players as well. So it's very much a case that if we've got homegrown players leaving, then because we've already maxed out on non-homegrown players, it's going to have to be homegrown players that are brought in to replace these other homegrown players. So if we want to go out there and replace a like for like with Jack Grealish, it'd have to be a homegrown player. If Kyle Walker leaves, then if we want to bring a right back in, it's going to have to be a homegrown right back, which is why Manchester City have been so heavily linked with Tino Livramento from Newcastle United, and no other names really have been put out there because there isn't really any other homegrown options for Manchester City to have a look at. So if we do want to go down that route of looking at right backs, and it's not going to be Livramento, I'm insistent that Man City are going to have to get busy when it comes to their player sales to try and free up some space in their non-homegrown registration windows, which they can do during this summer transfer window. And one way for us to do so is to speak about today's video title, the topic of discussion, and speaking about a potential backup goalkeeper being brought in by Manchester City. So no real developments on a right back, but I do want to speak about the potential goalkeeping situation in just one moment. I do want to say hello to everybody else. Brahim, welcome, thank you for tuning in. Cairo, welcome, thank you for tuning in. Eric as well, thank you for tuning in. Welcome Omar, tuning in from Charlotte, North Carolina, much appreciated. Got USA in the room. Welcome Starboy, thank you for tuning in as well. Ryan, we certainly do have Mateus Nunes, we've got Rico Lewis as the options. We're looking asking here about long-term, do Man City want to go with, are they happy with going with Mateus Nunes for 45, 50 games of the season? Because I'm going to presume that Rico Lewis would be the rotated option. So the question is Mateus Nunes of the quality that we're looking for? And Mateus Nunes played very well for Man City in yesterday's game against Juventus. I imagine Mateus Nunes will be given the nod for the rest of the Club World Cup. And as we're getting now towards the knockout stages of the Club World Cup, from our next game onwards, of course, with us taking on Al Hilal in the last 16 of the Club World Cup, is going to be given big opportunities here to see how, of course, he does end up performing for Man City and making decisions based from there about, are we happy to go with Mateus Nunes or do we want to move on? Going off the comments that Pep's made over the last 24 hours or so, it does sound like maybe he's going to stick with Mateus Nunes. And I'm not going to sit here and say I disagree with Pep Guardiola, but what I am getting at is we've got a fantastic player in Kyle Walker, who's been a tremendous servant for Manchester City and been Man City's best right back that we've ever had as far as I'm concerned. Even better, yes, than Pablo Zabaleta, in my opinion, that we're going to go out and replace him with a player who's not a natural right back. And I feel like we're in a position where we're seeing Ryan Aït-Nouri really flourish for Man City in the few games that he's played for us so far, because we're finally looking here at a player who's so comfortable playing in his natural position. And sometimes you just want to go out and bring in players who play in them natural positions to try and shore up the squad as best that they can be. And I'm not saying Mateus Nunes is a bad player. I think he'd certainly be a very good player, certainly a very good squad player that City are looking at. The question you have to ask yourself is, are you happy if Man City at some point in the Champions League meet Real Madrid and we're taking on the likes of Mbappe once more and Vinicius Jr. and potentially, obviously, Rodrigo if he does end up staying at Real Madrid, and Jude Bellingham? Are you happy with having Mateus Nunes start them games in defence? If the answer to that question is no, then there's still progress that can be made in that position. So I certainly feel like Man City still need a right back as far as I'm concerned, but we will see. Douglas says, concerned about the lack of sales. Things aren't really going to pick up till about a week or two's time. Once we get to the end of the Club World Cup is when things will start to pick up and a bit more business will start to be rolled out by Manchester City. I presume that City's business is being done very quietly and very discreetly right now to ensure that all focus is on the Club World Cup, because from the club's point of view and the business point of view, the Club World Cup is the priority right now whilst that is going on, because of the whopping amount of prize money that is on offer. Nanley, thanks for tuning in, much appreciated. Onai, thanks for tuning in, much appreciated as well. I think we need a right back. Shay, thank you for tuning in. I can't see us going for, well, I mean, we could go with a non-homegrown player to replace Ortega if we want to. I'll speak more about that in just 1 second. I'm happy that you have brought that up. All Things Football, thank you for tuning in, much appreciated. It says, is there going to be another Club World Cup registration window? Well, the Club World Cup will come to an end. When that does come to an end in the middle of July, we don't have to think about the Club World Cup for another 4 years, because it's not going to happen for another 4 years. So we can kind of put that to the back of our minds. We do have to think about Premier League registrations, which City are perfectly fine for right now, and more importantly, Champions League registrations, which City are not fine for, because they've currently got 2 extra non-homegrown players than what they need in terms of their registrations for the Champions League going into next season. So it does mean a couple of players around that first team squad who are non-homegrown will have to leave, whether that be sorting out situations with the likes of Claudio Echeverri and Vita Hayes, who have been linked with a potential loan exit from Manchester City, or if it means sanctioning a sale. I know Gundogan's been linked with a move to Turkey, but Gundogan seems like he wants to stay at Man City. Bernardo Silva's already committed and said he wants to stay. Edison said he wants to stay. So the only other position really that we're looking at is goalkeeper, and that's Ortega, who's just not been drawn on his future, which casts a bit of doubt considering he's got 12 months left on his Manchester City contract, that if he does leave and he's a non-homegrown player, maybe right now it would make more sense to bring in a homegrown goalkeeper to replace him, to free up a little bit more space, that we're not as under pressure for the likes of Echeverri and or Vita Hayes to leave the club. That's where we're at right now. Starboy, thanks for tuning in. Arthur, thank you for tuning in. Fusan, thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated as well. I agree. I do agree about your comments you're making about Mateus Nunes. I've got no problem with him being around the squad. I think he's a fantastic football player. He's got tremendous skills. He's got fantastic attributes. His pace he's rapid. He's quick. He's a great player to have. His passing, his distribution, his ability getting forward is very good. My concerns I have about him is in terms of his defensive capabilities. He's not a defender. He's not a right back. So if it gets push comes to shove and you're looking for a more defensive approach from City, on that right-hand side, who are you going to bring in? Because the only other option is Rico Lewis, who to me, he's not good enough to be a Man City right back. Technically a very gifted, very high quality young player. To me, not a traditional proper right back in the true sense of things when it comes to, in particular, playing against quality opposition in the Premier League and in the Champions League. And I feel like there's just a little bit of a gap there, which Pep Guardiola is going to use the whole of the Club World Cup to make a decision on whether he wants to go for a right back or not. Thank you very much, Adrian, for tuning in as well. Says we're desperately in need of a right back. Nunes, Husanov, Lewis are all options for Manchester City. So he's questioning, does he think that City are desperate? So he says, unless we can bring in Livramento, every other right back seems like a compromise. And I do agree with that, kind of, ish. Mateus Nunes, traditionally not a right back. Rico Lewis is. Husanov is not. He's quick, and I feel like people want to use him as them options because he's right-footed and he's quick. He's an option. I think he'd be used as a centre-back rather than on that right-hand side. I think you're far more likely to see John Stones go there, who has played there, made of glass, not to be relied upon, and Manuel Akanji, who, for me, again, is like Mateus Nunes, a real good squad player. I'm talking here about the creme de la creme. I'm talking about when you look at, on paper, Man City's strongest starting 11. If Mateus Nunes is Man City's strongest spot that we've got at right back, then to me, all of the teams are going to be looking at that and saying, I think the weak link is right there. And I'm going to cast your mind back to what I said at the start of the stream. If we're going against Real Madrid, which if we want to win the Champions League, we'll go up against Real Madrid, are you happy for Mateus Nunes to go up against Vinicius Jr.? If your answer is yes, then you're fine with the squad. If your answer is no, then you're not fine with the squad. And for me, I wouldn't be comfortable seeing Mateus Nunes marking and taking on Vinicius Jr. going one-on-one. I can see Real Madrid having a bit of a field day when it comes to the potential attacking credentials, and that was ultimately what knocked us out of the Champions League, was Man City's capabilities when it came to going pound for pound with some of the biggest and best players out there. And whilst Man City have made a lot of additions in this summer transfer window so far, a lot of the reinforcements that have been brought in have been through midfield and in attack. We've not really had a good look at Man City's defence, and whilst it was a wonderful performance from Man City yesterday against Juventus, the frailties have been there all Club World Cup, and any competent team will expose Man City when it comes to our weakness. Our weakness still lies, for me anyway, in defence. I don't think defensively we're as good as what we can be, and until we learn to be able to tighten ourselves up and not gift wrap opportunities to teams, then we're still going to be in a case where we're going to go toe-for-toe with teams. We have to score one more than them. And when it comes to winning the biggest and best trophies, we know what it takes to be able to do it. And you have to have in your locker the ability to, if you're having an off day when it comes to putting the ball in the back of the net, sometimes you have to be look at yourselves and say, are we capable of scoring just one goal today? And if we are capable of scoring one goal, are we capable of keeping out some of the best teams and keeping clean sheets? Can we keep clean sheets against Arsenal? Can we keep clean sheets against Liverpool? Can we keep clean sheets against Newcastle and Chelsea, some of the best Premier League teams out there? These are the big questions, and you need to be defensively very tight, very defensively switched on. And my area for concern, and I'm not just targeting Mateus Nunes, and I'm fearful that the stream's coming across as me attacking Mateus Nunes. I'm not. I think he's a good player, a good squad player. I just don't think when it comes to pound for pound strongest players that we're looking at, that for me we need a right back. We need a player who can come in and be Kyle Walker 2.0, who could be Man City's next Kyle Walker. With the position that we're in, it has to be a homegrown player. That's why we're getting heavily linked with Livramento. There's lots and lots of high-quality options out there for City. If they want to go out and bring in a non-homegrown right-back, they can, but they're going to need to sell players, and they seem reluctant right now to be selling any players. So we're still at a point where Vita Hayes and Claudio Echeverri can't be registered for the Champions League. Pep Guardiola doesn't like that. So for me, there has to be at least around the City first team squad right now who are non-homegrown, at least 2 players will be leaving. Who is that going to be? that remains to be seen. It's something that does need sorting between now and the start of the season, and definitely needs sorting by the time this transfer window comes to an end on September 1st. Anyway, thank you very much to Aravind. Thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. Savona, the problem is he's non-homegrown, so I can't see City touching any non-homegrown players as of right now. Douglas, I agree. He's not made that many mistakes. When he has made mistakes, you look towards the Manchester derby from last season. The mistakes were horrific, and it's just a case where I struggle because I can't criticise Mateus Nunes. If he makes a mistake, all I'm going to come back to is he's not a right back. So defensively, when he makes a mistake, he's not a defender. He's a winger. He's an attacker. He's a creator. He's a player that we're using in another position because we've got no other suitable options out there. So if at any point he makes a mistake, all we're going to come back to is it's not his natural position. So you can't criticise him. And I said the same during England's European Championship campaign. Everyone was bashing Phil Foden, but he wasn't playing in his strongest position. So I can't criticise a player if they're not playing in the strongest position. If they're not playing in the strongest position, then mistakes will happen. And when mistakes do happen, in particular in defence, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be fatal for how Man City play because we play with such a high line. I mean, look at Ederson's mistake that he made yesterday. Very few distribution errors that he makes, but if he does make a distribution error, it's going to be very costly, and Juventus ended up scoring a goal from it, and that could have been very costly for City in the Club World Cup. It could have sent us on to, in my opinion, a path of a more difficult route to get to the final than what potentially it could be. I'm not saying the opponents we're going up against aren't good teams. They're all very good teams. You don't get to the last 16 in the Club World Cup without being a good team, but I look at the path at the other half of the draw and we'd have had to have gone through Real Madrid and PSG to get to the final. We don't have to go through Real Madrid and PSG to get to the final now. We have to go up against Al Hilal and potentially going up against maybe a Chelsea in the latter stages, or a South American side. So Real Madrid and PSG there for me, the quality that we're looking at in the competition. And for me, if City can get to the latter stages, they're going to be the points where we can find out about our squad, about just how good they are, and it's all good practice for the start of the season, and of course the Champions League as well, which I'm sure Manchester City will have their eyes on. D, thank you for tuning in. Do I think we'll get to the final? I'm not sure if we'll win it, but I think we'll get to the final. Jabil, thanks for tuning in, much appreciated as well. I'm not sure about Simpson Poussey, to be honest. I can see him potentially being loaned out. He needs some first-team experience as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah. I'm not entirely sure. This is... I feel like we're all getting distracted by right-backs. The point of my stream today, I don't want to speak about right-backs because there's just nothing really out there. I want to speak about how we could potentially get a solution to the right-back problem that City have got, and it comes in the form of goalkeepers. So I'll just quickly say hello and we'll speak about goalkeepers so I can make the point I want to make. Chase, welcome. Thank you for tuning in from Jamaica. Much appreciated. Arthur, thank you for tuning in as well. I can't see City going in for Wesley, if I'm being honest. All Things Football, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. Douglas says horrific is a better word than awful. It depends what adjective you want to use. I like to use a variety of adjectives, whether it be a horrific mistake, a fatal mistake, a catastrophic mistake. They all mean the same thing. It was a mistake that was made that was devastating to Man City's cause. And if you make a mistake at the back, then it's a fatal error. And we end up conceding a goal because of it. And in the tightest of games against the very best of teams, sometimes games are going to be settled by just one goal, and it's very frustrating when we've played a very good game and we end up being on the losing side because we've ended up making a really bad error, in an error that could probably be ironed out. And I mean, I look at last season and I think to myself, a lot of problems that City have had in the season could have been ironed out in the summer transfer window by having a better window. We didn't, and we paid the price for that. We've had a much better window so far. There's still room for improvement in Man City's team before I start to sit here and say I'm confident that we can win the Premier League, we can win the Champions League, and we can get back to thinking about winning another treble, because I don't think City are quite there, and I'm not going to be deluded enough to say that what we've seen in the Club World Cup so far makes me think that Man City are fully back, because I don't think Man City are fully back. I think there's still a lot of weaknesses in Manchester City's team, and there's a lot that can still be improved. The question is, how good is the quality that we're going up against? How good are Arsenal compared with where City are right now? How good are Liverpool compared with where City are? Well, Liverpool's already made some quality signings, so we've got to be making sure that our squad is a 10 out of 10 squad if it wants to win the Premier League, because anything short, they won't win the Premier League. But we know that. We do know that. Nothing in terms of Chevalier coming in from France at the moment. I've not heard anything anyway. As Niall says, Ederson's staying, so I can't see any first choice goalkeepers being signed. So that automatically rules out Chevalier. It rules out Diogo Costa. I can't see it happening, if I'm being completely honest. Mateus, thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. Yeah, it solves the problem. You win the Club World Cup. You get, what is it, £90+ million. Throw that in at Livramento. Problem solved. Frederick, thanks for tuning in from the USA. Much appreciated. Let's see if anybody else is tuning in. Apologies if I have missed anybody. Thank you very much. Egemonye, hope I've said your name correctly. Diogo Costa, as Ederson staying, I can't see it happening. Portugal's number one isn't going to sit on the bench. So he's not going to be Man City's new number two, regardless of what happens with Stefan Ortega. So there we go. Right, goalkeepers, the topic of discussion, because Ederson's confirmed he's going to be staying at Manchester City, which is a fantastic commitment. What we're waiting for now is Ederson going to be signing a new contract at Man City or not? Because I would quite like some clarity on that. I don't think we're going to get it in this summer transfer window, but certainly as we're heading towards the winter transfer window, I'd like some clarity on that's made public. Privately, I think Man City would want some clarity on Ederson's future. Ederson saying that he's going to be staying at Man City is great. We'd like to know, is Ederson interested in signing a new contract? Because if he's not, then Man City need to be thinking about, in the next 12 months, we need a new goalkeeper who's going to be playing regularly in the Premier League and in the Champions League for Manchester City. So I was thinking to myself about, if Stefan Ortega decides to leave, and he's also been interviewed and spoken about his future, and he's not ruling out anything, and that, for me, Ederson's ruled out leaving City. The fact that Ortega hasn't ruled that out tells me he is interested in leaving Manchester City, certainly in the next 12 months, because Ortega's contract is up in the next 12 months. I made this point last summer, I've made my point this summer, and I will make my point next summer as well, if it is to be the case, that we cannot afford to lose our first choice and second choice goalkeeper in the same transfer window. That will be catastrophic. That, for me, is a disaster as far as the goalkeeping situation is concerned. If we're fearful that Ederson's going to leave in 12 months upon the expiry of his contract, and Stefan Ortega's not interested in signing a new contract at City ahead of what is a World Cup year, let's not forget. So Ortega will want to play regularly to make sure he's in the best possible position to be a goalkeeper for Germany at the upcoming World Cup next year. Then he's going to have to leave City to get first team football, and that's what I can see happening this summer. So what it means is that frees up one spot for a non-homegrown player. Remember what I was saying before about Champions League registrations. At the moment, Claudio Echeverri and Vita Hayes cannot be registered as a Champions League player. So Ortega leaves, one of them players will be able to be registered. It means that Man City would still need another player to leave. Now, it could be solved with Claudio Echeverri doesn't have much European football experience, and Man City may choose to loan him out. And if that's the case and Ortega leaves, then our squad is perfectly fine both with the homegrown balance and the non-homegrown balance. The only problem is we don't have a backup goalkeeper, which means if we want to go out and bring a non-homegrown backup goalkeeper into the club, which could happen because we've been linked with plenty of names. There was a lad whose name I can't remember from Lazio that we've been linked with, and Felice was linked with a goalkeeper, a backup keeper from AS Roma as well. There's lots of high quality goalkeepers that City could be targeting who are non-homegrown, but we could let a non-homegrown player leave and replace him with a homegrown player. Solves quite a few of our problems. And the only other homegrown goalkeeper that I can think of that's good enough to be competing with Ederson for the number one spot at Manchester City is James Trafford, who I'm going to speak about in today's video, the goalkeeper at Burnley. Problem is, Burnley got promoted, so they're now a Premier League team. So negotiating to bring a goalkeeper in from another Premier League side, it's going to be expensive. Also, we do have the problem that James Trafford is attracting a lot of interest, not just from Man City, who I'm sure if Ortega leaves City would be interested. James Trafford wants to go to the World Cup with England, so he wants to be a number one goalkeeper. And the only way he's going to do that is through playing on a regular basis, being a number one choice, first choice keeper. City aren't going to be able to offer that to James Trafford in the next 12 months, which makes this difficult, this deal very difficult. So, with Newcastle being strongly linked with James Trafford, it may make this transfer a non-starter for Manchester City. The thing is, if Ortega does leave, and I would like some clarity on this in the next couple of weeks, then we could start thinking about potentially bringing in another goalkeeper. Replacing Ortega with another non-homegrown goalkeeper would suggest to me that Man City are planning for at least 2 senior players in the first team squad to leave to ensure that every single player that we've got available to us around the first team can be registered for the Champions League. So, for me, if that does happen, then fine, but we need other players to leave. We could have a nice simple solution where you bring in a homegrown goalkeeper to replace a non-homegrown, say, a second choice keeper. There's no other goalkeeper out there other than James Trafford, though, that I think would be capable of competing with Ederson, that is of the quality that City would be looking for. He's a young goalkeeper. So James Trafford, for me, is the player I want to speak about. He's available for around £40 million. Manchester City, I do believe, because we sold James Trafford to Burnley, do have a sell-on fee included, so we would get a little bit of a discount. I can't imagine it's probably at more than 10 to 20%. So if it's at the smaller part of that number at 10%, then obviously we'd get £4 million knocked off and it'd cost us £36 million, which is a heck of a lot of money to invest in a backup goalkeeper. Wouldn't make any sense to do so. It'd make more sense to bring James Trafford in and say you're going to be competing with Ederson for the next 12 months because Ederson's not interested in signing a new contract. So if you can impress over the next 12 months, you will be Man City's new first choice goalkeeper in 12 months' time. The question is, does James Trafford want to wait 12 months to be a potential first choice keeper at City, or does he want to go to Newcastle and be their first choice goalkeeper for this season? And I can see him going to Newcastle and taking up that option, and this is all down to it being a World Cup year next year, rather than waiting. But if he is prepared to wait, I think James Trafford would be a really sensible, smart solution by Manchester City. And I want to speak about James Trafford because I think he's just a quality goalkeeper. And how many times do we speak about former Manchester City players going to other clubs and excelling? Nothing's more frustrating. Morgan Rogers doing very well at Aston Villa. I like to see it, but it's so frustrating because I just think to myself, well, if City had been patient, we could have developed him into being a really tidy player who could have helped Manchester City, and instead we've had to invest a heck of a lot of money while seeing one of our high quality academy players prospering elsewhere. And James Trafford's the same instance. Obviously a homegrown player. He's played for Manchester City's academy before. He's gone down the loan route. We've decided to sell him. We've included the sell-on fees and stuff. We can make the transfer happen if we so want to. I'm not saying that him being a former City player means he's going to pick City over a potential move to Newcastle, but Man City do have that option if they do want to go down that route. And just having a look at these statistics, only didn't feature in one championship game, 45 appearances in the championship, 16 goals conceded in 45 games. That's very impressive. I know it's the championship, and I know a couple of people were commenting on my video yesterday when I was speaking about James Trafford, saying that the championship isn't of the quality that we're looking at, and it's not near the quality of the Premier League, which I think is a fairly obvious statement, but the championship is still a very competitive league. It's a very difficult league to get out of with lots of former Premier League teams in. So to go in and keep 29 clean sheets, concede just 16 times in 45 games, makes everybody sit up. He made an English Football League record and a championship record last season. He went 12 consecutive games not conceding a single goal. Very impressive. A high quality keeper. Not just good with his shot stopping, by the way. He's a good penalty shot stopper. He's also very good with his distribution. He's from the City Academy. He knows how to use his feet. He knows how to pass the ball. And in terms of an upcoming English goalkeeper, for me, there's no goalkeeper out there better than this man right here, James Trafford. That's how highly I rate him. I can see him making that move to Newcastle. I can see him being an outstanding goalkeeper. I can see in the next 12 to 24 months, James Trafford being England's first choice goalkeeper, replacing Jordan Pickford. And he'll be playing for one of the best national teams out there with England and playing for a top quality team in Newcastle. That's how good he can be. He's not the complete finished article right now, but he is a very good goalkeeper. And I think he's definitely, if it was at all possible, an opportunity to replace Ortega Moreno with James Trafford to compete with Ederson, I would go down that route, keeping in mind that I think Ederson's not going to sign a new contract and he won't be a City player in the next 12 months. James Trafford would get some Premier League games because Ortega features for Man City. He does get given games. He gets given games in the FA Cup, in the League Cup, the odd Champions League game here and there. He gets given the odd Premier League game here and there as well. And let's not forget, Ederson on international duty has to go all the way to South America. He does a lot of flying, a lot of travelling. There's not much preparation. James Trafford, after each international break, would have 24 to 48 hours of further development that he was more likely in the games after the international break to be given the nod. And if he can impress in them games, he's got the opportunity of being first choice goalkeeper in the next 12 months at Manchester City, a team that wants to win the Premier League, that wants to win the Champions League, that's going here, there and everywhere in trying to get back to the pinnacle at the top of English and European and world football. And for me, it makes a lot of players listen. Unrealistic, maybe. I just thought it was worthwhile having a good look at him because I think he would be an option. Aaron Ramsdale is a good shout. Again, homegrown problem solves Man City's problem when it comes to this potential non-homegrown and homegrown problem. For me, the only problem I have is I just don't think he's good enough. I can't see Aaron Ramsdale being a competitive option for Ederson. I see him being Ederson's understudy, Ederson's backup, and that's all he is. When it comes to backup goalkeepers and number 2 goalkeepers, City want it to be competitive. Ortega Moreno is a very good goalkeeper. He's good enough to be a starting goalkeeper, a fair few Premier League teams and a lot of top quality European teams as well. That's the quality that we're going to be looking at. And I'm almost certain when it comes to replacing Ortega Moreno, if City decide to be patient and take their time in replacing him, I think it will be very much a high quality young goalkeeper, a goalkeeper under the age of 25, a goalkeeper who Man City are thinking in the long term could well replace Ederson at some point, and that is what City will be thinking about. And Milton makes an excellent point that Ederson did have his fair share of injuries, so you want your goalkeeper to be a high quality goalkeeper. And I think if Man City can make them promises, that's why I'd be saying discreetly in private, speaking to Ederson, if he's not going to sign a new contract, stay for this season, that's fantastic, but the game time is going to get restricted as it comes to this transitional season, where if we're going to choose to bring in a second choice goalkeeper and keeping in mind that we want them to be our first choice goalkeeper, then their development of that new goalkeeper brought in has to be right, and that game time does have to be there. It's not good enough just being a League Cup goalkeeper and an FA Cup goalkeeper. There's got to be Premier League starts, there's got to be Champions League starts, there's got to be a way of phasing in a new goalkeeper if Ederson doesn't sign a new contract. So whilst it's great to say Ederson's going to stay, we want clarity, because if Ederson's interested in signing a new contract, then this James Trafford links, they're a non-starter. You want to be bringing in a backup goalkeeper who knows they're going to be a backup goalkeeper at least for however long Ederson's contract is for. So we need these options. So yeah, Adrian, Newcastle very much in the box seat when it comes to bringing in James Trafford. It all depends on where does James Trafford want to go. At the moment, City, it's just the names being out there. But for me, yeah, it's a risk. It's always a risk. I think goalkeepers are probably the riskiest of the transfers, because if you get it wrong, it can set you back big time. Ask Manchester United getting it wrong with Onana, and he was a goalkeeper who was capable of taking Inter Milan to a Champions League final. You've got to get your goalkeepers right. You've got to have the right goalkeeper. I think Man City are so insistent on keeping Ederson at the club because they know that he is the right goalkeeper. I would, in an ideal world, want a high-quality young goalkeeper brought in as an understudy to Ederson to learn from him, and I'd want Ederson here for at least the next 3 to 5 years. Are we going to get 3 to 5 years? That's the question. He's got 12 months left on his contract. He's been heavily linked with a move to Saudi Arabia. He's happy to stay at City for at least another season. That's great. Is he going to sign the contract? What's going to happen in terms of that? And if Ortega's going to leave, then we need clarity on Ederson so we can start thinking in the long term about what is our goalkeeping situation going to look like. Are we going to go out and bring in another non-homegrown goalkeeper to replace Stefan Ortega Moreno if he does leave? And if that does happen, which other players are going to leave to ensure that all our players are capable of playing in the Premier League and Champions League and players aren't being left at home, which Pep Guardiola definitely does not want and will not be a case. We're again just hitting at this little sticking point in the transfer market where we've got to find the right balance between non-homegrown and homegrown players. At the moment, with so many homegrown players being linked with the exit door, Manchester City can go out and bring in other homegrown players if we want to. So, and that's not just the case for goalkeepers, all positions. Livramento, very easy to bring him in. Morgan Gibbs-White, as Niall mentions there. Again, if we want another midfielder, Morgan Gibbs-White's a very doable transfer. We do also have the complications there in terms of homegrown players. They do tend to be a little more expensive, and the majority of the homegrown players are coming from other Premier League teams. So you've got not only the Premier League tax, but the homegrown tax on top of these players as well, which is why Morgan Gibbs-White is so expensive. James Trafford, £40 million for a potential backup goalkeeper. It's mind-blowing. So that has been today's stream, today's transfer show. I will be back again next Friday for episode number 5 of the transfer show, where hopefully things will start to get a little more heated when it comes to this transfer market, because it has gone very quiet since the start of the Club World Cup. And speaking of the Club World Cup, Manchester City have played 3 games, won 3 games, finished top of the group, into the last 16, got a match against Al Hilal. If they win that, they enter into the quarter-final stage where things start to get really interesting when it comes to the Club World Cup. A fantastic performance yesterday against Juventus, in particular from an attacking point of view. I'm super impressed with Rayan Aït-Nouri. It's so great to see a natural left-sided defender who can also get forward, causing so many problems for defenders that it's just given an extra yard of space and time for Jeremy Doku, who I feel like if we can find a good balance between Aït-Nouri and also Jeremy Doku, could just see Manchester City find a fantastic solution on the left-hand side in finding players who are going to score and assist and take away a bit of the reliance from the likes of Erling Haaland and Omar Marmoush needing to score goals. It'd be great to be able to see other areas of the pitch chipping in with goals and assists as well. And I think that's something City have done really well, along with having a lot of new fresh ideas on the bench. How fantastic is it to see all the new coaches coming in, working really well together, having a great time with each other, all laughing and joking and celebrating and thinking. It's just really refreshing to see. And Man City look like they've got a real point to prove here, and I'm hoping they can take that momentum from the Club World Cup into the Premier League season as well, and it'd be a brilliant way to prepare for the 2025-2026 season and win the Club World Cup. I think, as Pep Guardiola said, don't think of the Club World Cup as an end of season kind of tournament. Think of it as the start of the new season and a chance for Man City to really put a full stop on things and to showcase to the whole world that Man City are very much meaning business once more. So Club World Cup being taken very seriously by Manchester City. We're putting some good performances, but we're going to be taking on some fantastic teams for the remainder of the tournament. Hopefully we can make it happen and Manchester City can continue to push and go forward. Very impressed with Rayan Aït-Nouri. Super impressed with Tajani Reinders. Loving the skill sets that's been offered by Rayan Cherki as well. So Manchester City's new summer signings very much embedding themselves very well. And I don't think City are going to be finished here when it comes to their potential transfer business, both with incomings and outgoings, and also as well going alongside the potential contracts as well, because we need to sort out Ruben Diaz, Phil Foden, Rodri as well. Lots and lots for Manchester City and the backroom staff and the board to be thinking about. So thank you very much for tuning in, guys. It is much appreciated. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up on the stream. We're aiming for 200 likes. Also, don't forget as well to leave your thoughts in the comments below. We are still live, so if you want to leave your last minute thoughts in the chat, then that would be much appreciated. Now, I can't see it happening. I'd like it to happen. I'm very much much on that hype train, but I'd like to see it happen. But I'm not too sure if I can see it happening. There have been links previously, and I think this is all coming down from the fact that Manchester City have the option to bring James Trafford back in terms of their sell-on clause. I don't believe there's a buyback, but there's definitely a sell-on clause. So it is the potential to happen. So we'll see. More hearsay more than anything else. It is very quiet out there. We are taking on Al Hilal in the next round, the last 16, João Cancelo's team. So we're going up against João Cancelo. We'll go use that term loosely in quotation marks, easier side of the draw. We're not taking on the likes of PSG, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid until we get to the final. We're looking at the likes of, causing me headaches. You've obviously got top quality South American sides. You've got Chelsea as well on Man City's half. So you take it a game at a time. Obviously, all focused on to Al Hilal, and if we could knock out Al Hilal, we're into the quarter-final, and we're then just 3 wins away from winning the tournament and getting a tremendous amount of money that would allow Man City to do maybe even more business in the summer transfer window, and if not in this window, then maybe in a future window, whether that come in the winter transfer window or next summer or another time. We'll have to wait and see. And let's not forget, the winners do get that Club World Cup badge on their shirts for the next 4 years. And I thought it complemented City's shirts last season. The new shirt that City are wearing, I think, looks pretty smart with the Club World Cup badge on. And I think for the next 4 years, it'd be great to have it on as well. Niall, I can see Man City. I've said it all summer, 4 to 6. So at the moment we're at 5, but that's because Scott Carson leaves, so I'd go 5 to 7. I'm going to stick down the middle. I'm going to go 6 new signings, so I reckon we're going to bring in at least 1 more player, potentially 2, whether that be a backup keeper if Ortega leaves or potentially a defender. I can't see City adding another midfielder or an attacker unless some players do leave between now and the end of the summer transfer window, and that's very much what this summer transfer window now is all about. It's pretty quiet, strangely quiet when it comes to the outgoings. We need to sort out players' futures, starting off with the homegrown players and sorting out the futures of Calvin Phillips, Kyle Walker, and also Jack Grealish as well. Anyway, guys, don't forget to subscribe. Get your thoughts in the comments below. Social media links are in the description as well. That would be much appreciated. I'm still waiting on official confirmation of Zaveri Naipan. I presume that he'll go on holiday, and Man City are going to wait maybe 4 or 5 weeks before officially announcing Naipan as a City transfer, but I don't think it will be too far away. Steve, welcome. Thank you for tuning in as well. Niall, that's a difficult prediction to go for. I can see all 3 homegrown players that I just named there leaving on a permanent basis, and I can see maybe 1 first team player heading out on loan and maybe a couple of sales. So we're probably looking at maybe 5 or 6 players heading out is what I reckon. I wouldn't say must buy Eric, but I certainly think definitely a priority. I just don't think Newcastle will sell him is the problem. So it'd be nice to find another solution. It's just right now none of us know what that solution is. So yeah, here we are. Anyway, guys, I'll see you next week for the next transfer show next Friday. I will have my daily Man City transfer update out, hopefully at some point today, if we do get some news, because it is very quiet. So I'm hoping things are going to start being reported in the next 60 minutes or so, and I can get a transfer update out for you guys. That would be great. And T, thanks for tuning in from Bangladesh. So have a great day, everybody. Have a great weekend as well. I've been JSGC. Peace. Ciao for now.